We're all aware that our society has changed in so many ways over the years, and many of our churches are facing challenging conversations as we reach out to people from many diverse backgrounds. One of these challenges is in the area of how we welcome those who are either attracted to those of the same sex or in same-sex relationships. And in a moment, I'm going to be interviewing David Kerrigan. It is our union's historical biblical understanding that marriage is a union between one man and one woman. This has not fundamentally changed for us as a Baptist family, and the EBA would concur with this view. However, we also recognise that as Baptist churches, our declaration of principle allows for some diversity in pastoral and missional practice. There's no doubt that as a Baptist family, we want to be able to welcome all people into our churches. What that looks like and how that happens is our challenge. So today, I want to bring to your attention two resources which have been designed specifically to help us in how we have these conversations in our churches and to be able to welcome those who acknowledge same-sex attraction. Firstly, the resource called Beautiful Endeavour by Stephen Elms. Some seminars using this material were run by the EBA in 2019, and we'd commend the resources to you, which allow you to discuss together the range of views which will probably be found in your congregation around this subject. But for the rest of this short video, I want to give it over to David Kerrigan to talk about another resource called Creating Sanctuary that has recently been developed. So David, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Beth, and thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this resource. David Kerrigan, Baptist minister, retired a couple of years ago. I have, over the years, been a missionary with BMS, a pastor in local churches here in the UK, and latterly for 9 years, I was general director of BMS. And in my retirement, I've got involved with Creating Sanctuary.
Thank you. So Creating Sanctuary, what's the purpose of this resource and how did it come about?
The purpose of the resource is to help churches have conversations about what they mean when, as most churches will say, we want to be a welcoming community. What does that mean in terms of the LGBT community? We recognize there are diverse views within our community. We are deliberately, we say in the resource that we are not intending to change people's minds on that. We'll perhaps come to that later, but rather to facilitate a conversation. It came about, I think, 2 or 3 years ago when a group of us were talking and we were increasingly aware of the harm that was being done to LGBT Christians in churches of different denominations. Sadly, the suicide rate amongst LGBT Christians is a tragedy, as is the experience of abuse, of harm, and I could go on. And I think we set out to make this resource with a safeguarding focus. So that's its main focus.
Thank you. So what would you say to some churches or some Christians that may feel that you're just trying to persuade them to change their theology and take an affirming view? How would you respond to that?
Yeah, I've had people say that to me. I've had pastors say that to me. Obviously, if I speak personally, but I also speak on behalf of others who have made the resource, of course, our personal conviction is that LGBT Christians should have a full and complete role in the life of the church. But we do not set out to persuade people of that. There is almost no intentional theological content in the resource. The vast majority of what you'll find in Creating Sanctuary is the opportunity to listen to stories, listen to people's experience. If you want the theology, and I would encourage people to read. There's a wealth of resources out there. But what people often are not able to do is listen to people's personal experience. And that is what you'll find embedded. There are videos, there are written accounts of people's lives. And on one of the 6 workshops, we give people who are in the groups from churches an opportunity to share their experience. And what we've found as we've worked with churches is that for the first time in churches, whether they are traditionalist or inclusive or somewhere half between, you'll find ordinary people who sit next to you, as it were, in the pew on a Sunday morning will say, my cousin is gay, or my work colleague is gay, or, you know, and suddenly people realize that actually they've got connections with the gay community, but they've never felt able to say it in church. And out of those conversations, there comes just an opportunity to say, and this is the heart of the resource, how can we make church a safe place for those who might come into the church who are gay? And yeah, I would just encourage people, even if you want to kind of find out more, you know, listen to some of the stories. You know, there's a heartbreaking story about a 14-year-old girl called Lizzie, who grew up in the church, was at the heart of the church, and she was gay. And at the age of 14, she did not feel able to say that to her pastor, even to her parents. And sadly, she took her own life. Mm. And we hear stories about this so often. And nobody, whatever their theological view, wants that to happen in their church. So we're saying here are ways in which you might make your church a safer place. Even if your view is a strongly traditionalist view, or even if you're trying to work out your view, you can take steps to make your church a safer place.
Thank you. That's really helpful, and hence the name Creating Sanctuary. It fits perfectly with what you're describing, and church should be a place of safety for us all, shouldn't it? And whatever
for everybody. And we know, I've never met yet a Baptist Christian who does not truly mean it when they say that God's unconditional love is for everybody, and we want them to come and experience it in the church. But we need to have the courage to listen to what gay Christians are saying. And often they're saying, I have been hurt so many times in our churches, including our Baptist churches. Surely we'd all want to know, how did that happen? How can we prevent it happening here?
So the two key words here is listening and conversation, and understanding and safety. That's 4 words, but that's fine. If people want to know more about Creating Sanctuary, how do they find out?
Just go to the website. It's www.creatingsanctuary.org.uk, and you will find there lots of details. And if you want to, you can just browse through all the material yourself. But what we really want people to do is to try and go through the 6 sessions, which you don't have to do in 6 separate periods of time. Some of them are bundled together, but there are 6 sessions basically around listening afresh to stories. And yeah, I hope people will give it a try.
Thank you so much for your time, David. And I hope that we can progress the conversations around this area as a Baptist family. Thank you,
Beth.
And God bless you.